helped you? How'd you guys feel on that one? Okay? Better? I mean, some of that stuff is things we kind of talked about in class, correct? It's like the Neolithic Revolution and things like that. I put a couple questions on the Epic of Gilgamesh for a reason. Hey, there was a selection from the book, but also you should be doing what in language arts classes right now? Read. How many of you started reading it? No? All right. What do you think about it so far?
Pretty interesting.
What have y'all talked about?
Well, right now we just finished a chapter with
Enkidu dies. And so, and one of the questions I asked on the test, or the quiz, was to hopefully tie between language arts and this one. Why did the gods send Enkidu down to Earth? Yeah.
To like balance.
To balance. Because Gilgamesh was what?
Like powerful, like arrogant.
Very arrogant. And so we see the gods portrayed Enkidu. And Enkidu is considered the wild man, right? My philosophy of teaching is try to encourage students to be lifelong learners. You have to model what good learning is all about, and so I try to do that in class. I also try to encourage kids to take chances, and I do it in everything I do, coaching and in the classroom. Take chances, get them out of their comfort zones a little bit. This is an era where we're in 21st century. Technology, you've got to incorporate that, and I try to do that in class as much as I can, and encourage kids to don't just try to memorize things. Let's try to apply things. And this year with AP World History being drastically different, they have to act and use the historical thinking skills to be successful. So I like the change in the AP curriculum, and I love teaching my CP World History as well, because you know those kids, I'm trying to get them ready for the gateway and get them to understand that, you know, it's a high stakes test, but yes, you can do it if we break it down and break down the mechanics of how to write an essay. So I believe kids can be successful. You have to impart that belief in them. Perfect. All right, it says early civilizations developed monumental architecture and urban planning. How many of you have been to Savannah before? How's Savannah? Is it a planned out city? And what way?
It's square.
And so it looks like a grid system, all right? We talked about also in the Indus Valley in Harappa how they did that. So we're on page 42 now in this review. And this is the things, again, there's no point in me asking you questions that the AP College Board is not going to ask you come in May. And so they want you to know how ziggurats, pyramids, temples, and that's where I got that information from, defensive walls, streets and roads, and sewage and water systems were part of urban planning. Here's the three questions I want you to answer tonight, and then we'll get into our discussion. I want you to answer, how was this a part of urban planning? In other words, did people sit down and go, all right, we really need to have a sewage system, this is how we're going to do it, and did they have engineers get around and they talked to the king? You know, how did they plan it? Because, you know, in this day and age, especially in Gwinnett County, we are proposing 2 more high schools pretty soon. Where the heck do you put them? So somebody at the county level, the urban planners, are getting together and going, all right, I really need to relieve X school or Y school, where do we put it? Anybody ever seen where Discovery High School is? I want to become a teacher because I had done other things. I'm not one of those fresh out of college teachers. I started teaching later, like 26, 27. I was able to play professional soccer for a couple years and work in another industry. I worked for the FDIC, and I didn't like the impersonality of doing those other things. Obviously I love soccer, but injuries prevented that from going any further. Now that I'm a teacher, this is my 21st year, best decision I ever made. I wake up every day and I love going to school. I love looking at the interaction and with the kids, and I love the fact that I get to help people, and I love helping people. And being a coach as well, that's what we do, and that's why I love being a teacher. Come in tomorrow, we'll have a discussion. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you about 3 minutes. It's this side of the room versus this side of the room. You guys are doing bows or iron weapons? You're doing bows. You guys are doing iron weapons. So you guys figure out your game plan, strategize about how you're going to beat them in the debate. Go. Well, I set the lesson up by using some standards out of the AP World History description book. We're towards the end of the first unit, and we're now dealing with the culture and things like that. And the way it's worded is, how did pastoralists impact warfare in agrarian societies and civilizations? And they have 4 categories we can compare. We can compare chariots, iron weapons, composite bows, and horsebacks, and how they impacted warfare. And so we had just watched a video the other day on the Egyptians versus the Hittites and the build up to their big conflict at the Battle of Kadesh. And it was all about how technology improves thanks to warfare and how it usually generates more advanced technology throughout history. So what I did was had one side research iron weapons and the other side did composite bows, and I just posed a simple question, but it's dealing with one of the 9 historical thinking skills for AP World, which is argumentation. And I had them, the question was, which one of these had a bigger impact on the ancient world? And how that worked was they have to pick a point and they have to defend it. So I'm picking one for them. They've got to do research, which is always important as a historian, and then they have to make logical arguments. And kids brought in articles, some brought in scientific data about pulling the bow back and how much energy it exerts versus swinging a sword. So these kids really did a lot of detailed research, and that's what the purpose is. And the way the AP World History curriculum has changed, now students are asked to be historians and not students of history. And I love the activity because I let them group, plan, and I said, listen, you got to prepare for what are the arguments going to be made against you, how you defend those arguments. And so a lot of kids, they thrive in that situation. You just need to let them do it. And and a lot of teachers want to hold their hands and be very controlling, and I'm the opposite. The only thing I ask is students don't interrupt each other and they be respectful of what they say and their opinions. But the whole purpose is using one of the 9 historical thinking skills and getting them to argue, but use evidence to argue, which is going to be the components of their short answer questions on the AP World History test, and also their 2 essays. So that was the purpose, and we do this a lot, and so that's kind of what we did today.